Here are the top stories for today, October 27, 2021. Pandemic response and the settlement of the South China Sea Road take center stage in President Rodrigo Duterte's participation in the virtual 38th and 39th ASEAN Summit. The Philippines is likely to start administering COVID-19 booster shots for priority sectors by next month. It also aims to inoculate 90% of teachers and students as it gears up for the pilot run of face-to-face classes. Government agencies doubled down on efforts to contain crowding at the Manila Bay Dolomite Beach, which drew throngs of visitors as it opens under eased quarantine curbs. And ready to be spooked for Halloween, Ilocanos will highlight their culture while paying tribute to the departed through a short film festival. Good day, I'm Marita Muaje. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. President Rodrigo Duterte joins other world leaders at the virtual 38th and 39th Association of Southeast Asia Nations Summits and related summits hosted by Brunei Darussalam. The president mentioned vital issues hounding the ASEAN countries, which include the COVID-19 pandemic response as well as peace and order in the area. The details from Janice Cave.
During President Duterte's productive discussions with fellow Southeast Asian leaders, he stressed that the ASEAN's road to recovery from COVID-19 will be long and difficult. The president emphasized the need to ensure the phased and comprehensive implementation of the ASEAN Comprehensive Recovery Framework to help the region recover from the COVID-19 crisis. This includes the immediate establishment of the ASEAN Center on Public Health Emergencies and Emerging Diseases that will serve ASEAN's hub for public health emergencies and emerging diseases response. President Duterte also renewed his call on his fellow ASEAN leaders to stay united in pursuing peace, stability, and prosperity in the South China Sea under the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, or UNCLOS, and the 2016 Arbitral Award. As for the environment, President Duterte stressed that there should be a holistic effort to protect and preserve biodiversity and the marine environment. He is also keen on solving the crisis in Myanmar peacefully, as he calls on fellow ASEAN leaders to stand with Myanmar and its people. President Duterte is also pushing for the full implementation of the ASEAN-Korea Free Trade Agreement. He also welcomed the United Kingdom as ASEAN's new dialogue partner. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Janice Cave.
The Philippines is expected to demonstrate its leadership in the upcoming United Nations Climate Change Conference 26 or COP26. The COP26, which was supposed to be held in November last year, will be hosted by the United Kingdom in partnership with Italy from October 31 to November 12, 2021 in the Scottish Event Campus in Glasgow. UK Ambassador Laure Bouffill said they expect the Philippines to demonstrate leadership that will halt deforestation, conserve biodiversity, maintain functional ecosystem services, and transition to clean energy sources, particularly renewable energy. The Philippine delegation will be led by Finance Secretary Carlos Dominguez and Foreign Affairs Secretary Teodoro Locsin Jr. The government targets to complete the COVID-19 vaccination of at least 90% of teachers, students, and other education personnel by the end of November. National Task Force Against COVID-19 Chief Carlito Galvez Jr. said this is part of the government's preparation to ensure safe learning during the gradual reopening of face-to-face classes. He also described the vaccination of minors ages 12 to 17 years old as an instrumental tool for the opening of face-to-face classes.
And then on the opening of the school, we will vaccinate teachers and students and personnel to at least 90% before the end of November.
Meanwhile, Galvez said the DOH has started processing the emergency use authorization amendments of different vaccine brands that will be used as booster shots. He said they are just awaiting for the announcement of the all expert groups on whether it will be mixed or same brand vaccination. Preparations are underway for the rollout of pediatric vaccination in the provinces. The details from Chris Mundo.
In Baguio City, there were 3,441 aged 15 to 17 who registered for vaccination as of October 17. The Baguio City government has started registration of minors with comorbidities who are interested to be among the first to receive the jab when the program rolls out in the city. In Davao City, vaccination rollout for minors aged 12 to 17 with comorbidities will start on October 29. Only Moderna and Pfizer vaccines will be administered to them as these COVID-19 jabs have an emergency use authorization. The vaccination will be held at the Southern Philippines Medical Center, Metro Davao Medical and Research Center, and Amosop Siemens Hospital. In Negros Oriental, health authorities have renewed its call for adults aged 18 and above to avail of free COVID-19 vaccines, so the rollout for minors can start soon. Assistant Provincial Health Officer Dr. Leland Estacion said they cannot move forward with the vaccination of the 12 to 17 age group while there are still a significant number of adults who are not yet inoculated. So far, about 164,000 of the province's target of 908,939 adult population have been fully vaccinated. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Chris Mundo.
A further study is being eyed on the use of virgin coconut oil as an adjunct therapy for COVID-19 patients. Philippine Council for Health Research and Development Executive Director Jaime Montoya said they are looking at whether the VCO could do something to minimize or lower the inflammatory markers among COVID-19 patients. He said the community trial conducted in Santa Rosa, Laguna yielded a positive result, noting that more participants recover faster with the aid of VCO as an additional supplement. Meanwhile, DOST Secretary Fortunato de la Peña said the VCO clinical trial at the Philippine General Hospital is still ongoing and further study at the molecular level is needed to see the actual effects of VCO among COVID-19 patients. The Armed Forces of the Philippines turned over to its Civil Relations Service the essential electronic equipment that will be used in efforts to counter violent extremism. These were earlier donated by the Australian government. The equipment includes high-tech computers, tablets, storage devices, smart TVs, cameras, and audio recording components. AFP Chief of Staff General Jose Faustino Jr. said the electronic equipment and gadgets will enhance the capability of their civil relations service in their functions of documenting and encoding diverse and vast information on personalities and events relative to violent extremism and terrorism. Meanwhile, the AFP welcomed the latest results of Publicus ACS survey, where it garnered the highest approval and trust ratings among government agencies. This survey conducted from October 11 to 18 showed that the AFP topped the institution approval scorecard with 66.73%. It also topped the institution trust scorecard with 49.06%. AFP spokesperson Army Colonel Ramon Zagala said the AFP considers the survey's result as a manifestation of the people's positive perception of the accomplishments of its mission. Still to come, the Commission on Elections says only 11% of some 4,000 voters joined last weekend's voting simulation activity. And easing commuter woes, the LTFRB opens more bus and shuttle service routes. Details ahead, keep it here on the PNA Newsroom.
Alamin ang tamang paraan ng pag-ubo upang mapigilan ang paglaganap ng Coronavirus Disease 2019. Ugaliing magdala ng panyo o tissue. Kung uubo o babahing, takpan ang buong ilong at bibig gamit ang panyo o tissue. Kung walang dalang panyo o tissue, maaaring gamitin ang braso na pantakip. Kung nakararamdam na kailangan umubo o bumahing, agad na dumistansya sa mga tao sa paligid. Huwag dumura kung saan-saan, gumamit ng tissue at itapon sa basurahan. Ugaliin ang paghuhugas ng kamay at paggamit ng alcohol o hand sanitizer upang mamatay ang mikrobyo. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa, kaya natin to! Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito.
Additional crowd control measures are in place for Manila Bay's Dolomite Beach. DENR Undersecretary Jonas Leones said members of the DENR-led Manila Bay Task Force agreed to close the beach every Friday for maintenance work. It will also be closed from October 29 to November 3 in accordance with IATF protocols. Meanwhile, Manila Mayor Isko Moreno Domagoso said that while the city government of Manila supports the opening of the Manila Bay Walk Dolomite Beach, he wishes people would go to different places in Manila and not converge in one area to avoid the spread of COVID-19. He also challenged the government to press charges against the DENR for the reopening of the man-made beach at the Manila Bay that led to the sudden influx of visitors over the weekend. Malacanang said it will leave it up to the DILG to file cases against DENR for the supposed breach of health protocols. For his part, DENR Undersecretary Benny Antiporda explains that measures are already in place to prevent crowding in the Dolomite Beach. He also said there were no lapses in communication between the DENR and the national government when they earlier allowed children to go to open areas under Alert Level 3.
Ang nangyari lang po is based on information that we received na pwede po yung mga bata basta open area. So since this is an open area, pinayagan po yung mga bata. But noong weekends talaga, nakita nyo yung influx ng tao, grabe, sa sobrang dami. But we implemented the 5 minutes rule. So, since ganun po nangyari, nag-decide na lang po yung, interagency na ipagbawal yung 11 pababa. Malaking
Only around 11% of the over 4,000 test voters have participated in the voting simulation activity conducted by the Commission on Elections in San Juan City over the weekend. COMELEC spokesperson James Jimenez admitted that it was a low turnout as they are expecting the test voters to actively participate in the event in preparation for the May 9, 2022 national and local elections. Jimenez said the holding of this activity is significant. They were able to roll out on what will happen during the voting process. He, however, said this is not expected to be a high attendance event because typically Filipinos have not really bothered to attend simulation exercises. Meanwhile, the refurbishment of vote counting machines and the COMELEC also in the middle of the local source code review process. At the same time, Jimenez said they are looking to release the rules on campaigning for the May 2022 polls this month. The campaign period for national positions will start on February 8 until May 7, 2022, or 90 days before the polls. Those running for local positions will have 45 days to conduct campaign activities, which will begin on March 25 until May 7, 2022. Meanwhile, the COMELEC has registered almost 63 million local voters for the May 9 elections. The poll body official also reported that the number of new voters has exceeded 4 million. Jimenez also said the number of overseas voters is now at 1.6 million after the registration period ended on October 14. The Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board has opened 7 intra-regional city bus routes and 8 shuttle services routes as part of the slow and phased relaxation of COVID-19 quarantine restrictions in the country. The LTFRB said only public utility vehicles such as city buses are allowed to operate as long as they have a valid and existing certificate of public convenience or an application for extension of validity. All units operating in routes opened by the LTFRB are required to be registered with personal passenger insurance policy. PUVs that are operating as shuttle services must be roadworthy and with a valid contract of lease until December 31, 2021. The LTFRB said all PUVs, including shuttle services, are required to comply with minimum health standards in public transportation, such as mandatory use of face masks and shields, no talking and no eating, having adequate ventilation, regular disinfection, barring symptomatic passengers from boarding, and following the one-seat-apart physical distancing rule. The Department of Labor and Employment on Tuesday distributed 2.2 million pesos worth of cash aid to 630 recipients of the Tulong Panghanapbuhay sa Ating Displaced Disadvantaged Workers or TUPAD program in Misamis Oriental. Undersecretary Renato Ebarle personally handed out the assistance to the recipient workers who were affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. At the Balingoan Central School, Ebarle also extended cash aid to 318 beneficiaries who come from the municipalities of Balingoan, Quinoguitan, Medina, and Talisayan. He then proceeded to the Salay Municipal Gymnasium for the payout of another 312 beneficiaries from the towns of Salay, Sugbong-Cogon, Lagunglong, and Binwangan. All beneficiaries received 3,650 pesos each for 10 days of work on social community services like road cleaning, disinfection, and sanitation of local government unit areas. In Dumaguete City, the city government is proposing blood donation as an option for violators of traffic rules and other local ordinances to settle their fines. The Committee on Health of the Sangguniang Panglungsod deliberated on the proposed ordinance authored by Vice Mayor Carissa Tolentino Maxino for second reading. The proposed ordinance offers the violator to choose to donate blood instead of paying the administrative fine of 500 to 1,500 pesos, provided he or she is fit to be a donor. Meanwhile, the city is also looking to establish a blood bank information center. This will be a repository of information on donors and other data to prevent illegal and overpriced selling of blood in the black market. The country's food sufficiency efforts are on the right track as bangus or milkfish production in the first half of 2021 grew by 8.3%. The country harvested over 180,000 metric tons of milkfish nationwide by end of June, or higher by over 10,000 metric tons from last year. The Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources said Central Luzon has the highest milkfish production of over 55,000 metric tons, followed by Ilocos Region with 47,000 and Western Visayas with 44,000. It added that bangus fry production nationwide reached 1.08 billion fingerlings by the end of September, or 40.8% higher compared to the same period last year. The BIFAR has urged its regional offices to strengthen its partnership with local government units to nurture the state of fishery in the country. More stories from the newsroom. The Justice Department hopes the probe on erring personnel in the country's drug war will continue under the watch of the next PNP chief. And Japan's Princess Mako chooses love over royalty as she weds her boyfriend. Back after a quick break, stay with the PNA Newsroom.
Tandaan ang tamang paraan ng paghuhugas at paglilinis ng kamay upang makaiwas sa iba't ibang karamdaman. Basain ng tubig ang mga kamay at sabunin. Unang sabunin ang mga palad at ang likod ng mga kamay. Kuskusin na maigi ang pagitan ng mga daliri at maging ang mga kuko. Isunod ang pagitan ng mga hinlalaki at kuskusin ng paikot ang mga dulo ng mga daliri sa magkabilang palad. Banlawang mabuti ang mga kamay sa malinis na tubig at patuyuin ang mga kamay gamit ang single-use towel o air dryer. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa, kaya natin to! Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito.
President Rodrigo Duterte's order to go after law enforcers who violated procedures during anti-illegal drug operations will extend to the next head of the Philippine National Police. Justice Secretary Menardo Guevara said he expects the successor of PNP Chief General Guillermo Eleazar will strictly comply with the President's directive. The President has a standing order to the DOJ and the PNP to review the conduct of the drug war and punish erring law enforcers. Guevara expects the Memorandum of Agreement between the National Bureau of Investigation and the PNP on joint probes of drug war deaths will be signed before Eleazar steps down. Eleazar will reach the mandatory retirement age of 56 on November 13 after serving 6 months as PNP chief. Former rebels in southern Leyte have bonded together to help the government fight communist insurgency in the province. The officers of the Southern Leyte Tandaya Integrated Peace and Development Workers Federation were formally inducted on October 24 by the Provincial Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict. The 156 Federation members in Southern Leyte are former NPA fighters and mass supporters. They surrendered to the government around 2019 to 2021 when the government strengthened the whole-of-nation approach against armed conflict. The organization has already worked and facilitated the surfacing of 26 former NPA fighters and mass organization members in Southern Leyte. Rodrigo Borlaza, the Federation president, encouraged his fellow former rebels to continue supporting the programs of the government against armed struggle. Bangsamoro students in Lanao del Sur and Marawi City can now study lessons even outside the classroom through the Siapko Kapaganad video learning program, which was turned over to schools in the province. More on this from Claire Gighe.
The Office of Member of Parliament Attorney Maysara Dandamun Latif just highlighted even more the Siapko Kapaganad program to the 3 schools divisions in the province of Lanao del Sur. This is to ensure that all possible means are exhausted, making education accessible by providing educational resources such as instructional videos so that no Bangsamoro learner will be left behind as the nation continues to fight against the coronavirus disease or COVID-19 pandemic.
Naisip namin na through videos, meron teacher sila makikita, at the same time, they would be able to look at their modules and learn together with the video. So meron pa rin silang teacher na magtuturo sa kanila at magmo-motivate sa kanila na mag-aral.
MP Latif said learning through the videos would not be difficult for the children as they can replay the videos. The videos are also easily accessible and can be viewed through the Siapko Kapaganad Facebook page or the kapaganad.com website. The contents can also be downloaded and saved in a flash drive. This was then officially turned over by MP Latif to Lanao del Sur 1, Lanao del Sur 2 and Marawi City Schools Division to sustain the program.
And I pray that you would use it to open new opportunities and hopes for our children. May it become your key for a more quality, relevant, effective education. May this be one of the reasons our children in the Bangsamoro continue to strive towards achieving their dreams.
A total of 187 videos on Arabic, English, K-12, science, and math curriculum have been produced since the program inception. For PNA Newsroom, Claire Gigha of the Philippine Information Agency, Lanao del Sur.
In news overseas, Princess Mako of Japan's imperial family has relinquished her royal status to marry her commoner boyfriend on Tuesday. Mako married her university sweetheart Keiko Muro, and Japan's Imperial Household Agency submitted the legal paperwork in capital Tokyo to register their marriage. She will be known as Mako Komuro under family registry with her husband. Mako is the eldest daughter of Crown Prince Fumihito, the younger brother of Emperor Naruhito. The couple first met in 2012 and has been in a relationship since their schooling at the International Christian University in Tokyo. They were unofficially engaged in 2017, but the marriage was postponed due to financial dispute involving Komoro's mother. The couple plans to settle down in the U.S. A scary film fair featuring Ilocano's rich culture and tradition of remembering the dead will highlight this year's 10th Lilia Contapay Short Horror Film Festival. The film fair, set on October 28 to 29, will be held at the La Tabacalera Food Park in Laoag City. As a tribute to the late Ilocana actress and horror queen Lilia Contapay, the Ilocos Norte government provides amateur filmmakers and students an avenue to show what they've got in the film industry. Under the contest guidelines, all entries must be original, featuring at least one distinct Ilocano death tradition. The film must have been produced within the period of October 4 to 15, 2021. Meanwhile, starting October 26 to November 6, a Halloween TikTok makeup transformation online contest will also be conducted, while a virtual customer competition will highlight the annual Tumba Festival in Paway Town on November 1. Let's take another look at today's biggest stories. Pandemic response and the settlement of the South China Sea Road take center stage in President Rodrigo Duterte's participation in the virtual 38th and 39th ASEAN Summit. The Philippines is likely to start administering COVID-19 booster shots for priority sectors by next month. It also aims to inoculate 90% of teachers and students as it gears up for the pilot run of face-to-face classes. Government agencies doubled down on efforts to contain crowding at the Manila Bay Dolomite Beach, which drew throngs of visitors as it opens under eased quarantine curbs. And ready to be spooked for Halloween, Ilocanos will highlight their culture while paying tribute to the departed through a short film festival. As Filipinos, we all have a vital role to play in preventing the spread of COVID-19. So remember, wear face masks and face shields. Wash your hands often. Practice safe physical distancing. Go out only for essential reasons. And get vaccinated as soon as possible to protect ourselves, our families, and the community. Together, we can beat COVID-19. Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. For more news content, check our webpage or log on to the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. For more stories about the government and how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. We are shown on the pages of the PCOO and its attached agencies. Also watch us on television on PTV4 and IBC 13. It's 59 days before Christmas, and let us remember, we still have time to buy our gifts for our loved ones, and so don't flock markets and groceries. And that's your daily dose of the biggest stories that you need to know from the PNA Newsroom. We tell stories that inspire change. I'm Marita Muaje. Stay safe and have a good day.